Hey everyone, back for another episode of Off the Pitch with myself, Lane Dayton, and my co-host Daniel Rowley. This week we'll be talking about last week's Champions League game, Barcelona's big defeat against Paris Saint-Germain, and Mbappe's hat-trick. And in the Premier League, we'll be talking about the Merseyside Darby and some of the other big fixtures that happened. We'll be talking about all that and some more right after this. Well, Barcelona took another huge defeat to Paris Saint-Germain midweek in the Champions League on Tuesday, 4-1 shocking loss. We saw Mbappe show his skills and his goal-scoring ability and mostly his speed once again. What do you think of Mbappe, and are Barcelona aging, or what do you think's wrong with the squad?
I think Mbappe is looking absolute quality. I think he's the next golden generation of players that we've got at the minute. Him and a few others, but yeah, I do think Mbappe he's one of the top ones for the next golden generation. The guy showed pure class through the week. I think PSG as a whole though just look like an absolute world class team. They look like they will be challenging for that Champions League final this year. They'll be challenging for the trophy. I don't know what was up with Barca though. I thought Messi looked good when he had the ball, to be fair. I didn't think he looked bad. I thought Griezmann was fairly good on the ball, missed a few opportunities, but had a few good shots as well. But I just don't think the rest of Barcelona just looks up to it at the minute. It's hard to tell what's up with him. I feel like Messi's still, for his age, he's got a bit of class, but the guy can't carry a full team by himself, especially the weight of a team like Barcelona. But it's hard to say what's up with him. Is it the manager? Is it the players? Is it they're relying on Messi too much? It's hard to tell, but something's got to change.
Yeah, for sure. And then we saw that dodgy penalty given to De Jong early in the first half for Barcelona, which gave them the 1-0 lead. But I thought it was quite a dodgy call. I think they should have looked at VAR longer. That's where I think the inconsistency comes in. I think the referee's got to take longer, and they're going to be more consistent on these, because that was not a penalty in my books. He tripped himself up to try and win the penalty. They didn't have much going for them. And I think he really sold it. And I think, obviously, Messi was going to bury the penalty once it was given to him. But I don't think it should have been given. I think it should have been still 0-0. I don't think Barcelona deserved a goal from that game. But, I mean, what you said there, yeah, PSG looked like an absolute unit once again. I think Poch has his team running, like, unreal again. And after the loss on the weekend in Ligue 1 to Monaco, they're shaky in the league. But in Champions League, they're always going to be a dominant unit. But you had Moise Kean scoring for PSG, who's on loan from Everton. Do you think Everton could use him back this summer, or do you think he'll leave the PSG and find a new destination?
I feel like if Everton want to keep him, they're going to have to keep him, and they're going to have to tie him down to a good contract. The kid last night showed some absolute pure class. But I do think PSG, I wouldn't be shocked if they came in with a big offer for him. He seems to be pretty good since he's joined on loan. Maybe the league suits him better. Maybe this team suits him better. Maybe it's Pochettino. But I do think he's looking good at PSG, and I think he might come back and do it again for Everton. Now he's had this bit of time away, but I do think a move. I think Everton's not the one for him. I do think he looks a little bit better at PSG, but yeah, some of the stuff he was coming out with last night, he was up there with Mbappe as one of the best players on that pitch yesterday. And going back to the penalty shout, I think it was a rough one to give. It's one of them. There was contact on him. He did look a little bit. He did go down. You're gonna do. You feel something on you in the box, and you know you're going down already. You're gonna go down. You're gonna make it look like it's his fault. It was his own foot he tripped over, but with a bit of contact on from PSG's defender, you're going to get it given, especially with the state of the referee in these days. The slightest bit of contact and you're just gone. Just broke up a bit then. Yeah, slightest bit of contact and you're gone. It was a lucky penalty from Seguin. Messi took it well. You're not going to stop a Messi penalty nowadays. But no, I do think it was lucky PSG. It wasn't more than 4 last night. The way they played, it could have been easily a 6-goal win. That.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Marc-Andre ter Stegen, Barcelona's goalie, of course, showed his talent once again. I mean, he's getting up in age, but brilliant performance by Ter Stegen. Like you said, that game could have been way more out of hand. The tie is already over, in my opinion, going back to France. And but Ter Stegen really kept it in the balance. I think it could have been 7-6 at least with the amount of chance he saved. He saved a brilliant chance from Kurzawa earlier in the game, which wasn't expected from a guy like Kurzawa. But I mean, it was a great performance from Ter Stegen, but I mean, he's the only one that really showed up from this Barcelona team. Nobody else really showed up. I mean, you had Sergio Dest, who got absolutely ruined by Mbappe, which everyone does, but I mean, you can't fault the guy. And you had Messi. Messi was probably the only outfielder I saw who had anything going on the field for them. And that's hard to come from a Ronaldo fan myself. But I mean, PSG just looks like a unit. Mbappe is still class. You got a great midfield there. Poch is a fantastic coach. I mean, this team could win the Champions League, which we almost saw last year. But I think they got a real shot at it. And Mbappe is looking like the third best player in the world, arguably up there with some of the others. He's now up there with likes of Ronaldo and Messi, but he's putting up numbers with Erling Haaland. Do you think him and Haaland are going to be the next big era to join Messi and Ronaldo?
Yeah, I would probably agree with that. If you're talking goal scorers, I think Haaland and Mbappe are the new Messi and Ronaldo in a sense. Then I think it's still too early to compare them quite to Messi and Ronaldo. But I do think for terms of goal scoring and the numbers they're getting, I do think they're going to be the next big two. As touch wood, as long as no injuries go on. Don't want any injuries happening to them and knocking them out. But I do think they're looking strong. The numbers are high, and if they can keep it going and stay at the strong teams, I think it's just over a year now for Haaland, and the goals he's scored in a matter of a year are shocking and so good. And I think Mbappe, for his age, the amount of goals he's scoring over at PSG for one of the top clubs in Europe is incredible. I do think they're going to be up there. I think Mbappe probably is one of the better players in the world right now. To put him in the top three is a high shout. But I do think he's definitely around there. He's pushing it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I personally have Lewandowski up there. I think Lewandowski's an elite goal scorer. But I'd put Mbappe and Erling Haaland rounding off my top five. But I mean, this year you got Haaland's on 27 goals from 25 games, which is unreal from a kid who's 21 now. And then you have Mbappe's putting up unreal numbers too. But I mean, I think these two could have an unreal era. They're tremendous footballers. I think Haaland's got the talent to be better than Mbappe, in my opinion. I think he's got the stronger build. He's better in the air. They're both fast themselves. Obviously, Mbappe's faster because of his build. But Haaland's still unbelievably quick for his height, his build. He's strong. He's more like Ronaldo, in my opinion. And Mbappe's closer to a Messi. If you want to compare the two, but it's a stretch to compare them like that. I think you got to wait at least 5, 6, 7 years to compare these two to Ronaldo and Messi. I don't think anybody in the game will ever compare to those two because they're just out of this world. And I hope one day we'll see them reach those heights, but I think it's going to be hard to get them there. But speaking of Ronaldo, he took a loss midweek with Juventus against FC Porto, 2-1 the Champions League on Tuesday. And speaking of Ronaldo, he actually suffered a defeat midweek on Tuesday with Juventus against FC Porto. It was a 2-1 loss. Juventus looked shaky once again, like to have midweek in the league, like usual. And under a young side and a bit of a mix with some older players. And you got a newer coach, Andrea Pirlo, coaching them. But they gave up an early shocker to Mehdi Taremi and Bentancur with a shocking back pass to Szczesny. And Taremi just basically threw himself in front of it, letting the ball go in the net. It was a terrible goal to give up. You can't do that in Champions League. You're always going to get suffered against that, and you can't give up those simple goals. But they ended up losing 2-1, and Chiesa, the young Italian, scored a goal to keep them in the tie. But I mean, it's still going to be tough going to Turin to bring back that score. But what do you think of this Juventus team and how they played this game?
I think a team like Juventus shouldn't be getting beat by a team like Porto. I mean, don't get me wrong, on any day, football is anyone's game. But Juventus, with the quality they've got, and just for the fact of you got Ronaldo in your team, you shouldn't be getting beat by silly little goals like that. you're in the Champions League. It's not just any league now. Little goals like that, little mistakes like that is embarrassing. Like you say, if you make a mistake like that, a team in the Champions League is going to capitalise on it, and it's just what happened. It's a scrappy goal, but at the end of the day, a goal's a goal. Later on in the game, they scored another fairly decent goal, I thought myself. But yeah, no, I think Juve, there's something just didn't look right about them in that game.
Sure.
I don't think they've been as good as they should be. I've always been a little bit sort of more expectant of a team like Juve. I've always said in that league, there's no one really apart from Juve at the minute because of the money in it that should be challenging for that league. It should be Juve's league every year. I mean, you've got Inter and AC Milan, which are always going to be up there as well. But Juve they should have that little edge over them, just with the quality they've got. But yeah, no, in the game didn't look well at all. Definitely some stuff to improve on.
Yeah, and Porto's always been a quality Champions League side. We've seen them with Jose Mourinho back in the day winning it, and they've still always been there or thereabouts. They've never really made a run like that since. But, I mean, against a team like Porto, you just can't be making those mistakes against anyone really in the Champions League. But, I mean, Juventus has been shocking all year with under Andrea Pirlo. They've had some great games, some great moments, but realistically, they're in sixth place. They're sitting in Europa League. And for a team like Juventus, that's just embarrassing. We could next year be seeing Liverpool, the champions of England, in the Europa League. We could be seeing Italy's champions, Juventus, in the Europa League, and that would be embarrassing for the world of football and for this new European power league that lots of people are wanting to see happen, which I personally don't want to see because it would ruin football in my opinion. But that's really knocked that league. But seeing Juventus and maybe Liverpool in Europa League would be quite embarrassing for clubs like that. They're just known around the world, and you can't be seeing that happen. But do you think Juventus can turn this tie around? I think it's going to be interesting, but going back to Turin, I think there's a possibility.
Yeah, I think there's a possibility. I mean, it was shown the other season. Barcelona had beat Liverpool 4-0. Liverpool came back and somehow managed to win that thing. Any game is reversible if you've got the will for it. You could see a 6-0 get turned around. I think 2-0 for a team like Juventus, and the willpower a player like Ronaldo will have to get that turned around, and how he'll get pumped up all the players in the dressing room. I think Juve should be coming out and turning that around. Same with the league. Like you say, they're in sixth place at the minute. I mean, as long as other results go their way and they start getting a bit of form, I think they can turn it around. But there's a long way to go yet.
Yeah, when you have Ronaldo, you never know what could happen, especially with a guy like that and a generational superstar and probably the best player to ever play the game, in my opinion. And they got a lot of players on that team that can do a lot of business. Dybala, Chiesa, they can turn around, in my opinion, going back home to Turin. I hope they can do it. I'd hate to see Ronaldo and Messi both follow the Champions League, especially so early. You'd like to see another one of them have a shot or a run in, but it's going to be close for both of them. But we'll be right back after this commercial break, and we'll be talking about some Premier League action and some of the big games that happened during the week. Well, there's quite a bit of action that happened in the Premier League this week. We actually saw a London game between West Ham and Tottenham. Jose Mourinho finally gave Gareth Bale that good start that he needed, and I think Gareth Bale rose to the occasion, hitting the bar. A couple good chances, got an assist from the corner on Lucas's goal. But in the end, they lost 2-1 to West Ham, and David Moyes is really bringing this team up in the Champions League spot right now. Do you think they can hold it? And what do you think of David Moyes' strong team right now?
I think they can definitely hold that Champions League spot. With the state of the Premier League this year, I think that Champions League spot could be any team still. But I do think West Ham are looking actually quite strong for it to say it. I don't even think they were in Europa League last year, were they? And now they're pushing for a Champions League spot is credit to him. I think David Moyes is doing a hell of a job. And for me, I think Jesse Lingard's come on that loan from Man United, and I think he looks a completely different player. He's been looking absolute. I mean, I know it's only a couple of games in and anything can happen yet, but so far he's looking absolutely incredible for West Ham. I think he's come back out and he's got into a comfort, and he's looking strong. With Gareth Bale, he came out, and I think he finally has had that start that he's needed, and I think he did look well. Like you say, a few unfortunate saves and crossbar shots, but I think he is looking strong. I think he does need first team game time. I don't think Bale's the kind of player you can bring off the bench, and he needs a bit of time to do what he wants to do. I mean, don't get me wrong, you can bring him off the bench, but he settles into a game so much more when he's been on it for a longer period of time. And for a player of his quality, he needs the more game time. I don't think he deserves to be sat on a bench. He's still got that quality about him. He could go to a number of different teams if Jose doesn't start playing him more often like he did, and get first team game time. So if Tottenham want to keep him, I think they're going to have to do that. Otherwise, they'll go back to playing golf at Real Madrid if they're going to bench him.
Yeah, for sure. I completely back what you're saying. I mean, Gareth Bale is completely class footballer. I think you got guys like Gary Neville coming out all year saying he's pissing me off how much he's smiling on the bench and all that stuff he does on the bench, like usual, his normal shenanigans. But, I mean, what else are you going to do on the bench? Like, he's been there all year. Like, play the guy. He's an unbelievable footballer. He's been at Real Madrid for many years, won them Champions League. I don't know, Jose Mourinho was praising him all summer. Like, it's about time he's starting him, and look, he's got an assist already. And he hit the crossbar. Like, he could have won the game, tied the game for him. But, I mean, he's going to score goals. He's going to give assists. He's a dynamic footballer. I love watching him. But, I mean, it's about time he started. And like you said, Jesse Lingard, I was a United fan myself. I think it was well needed that he needed to leave. He had a long couple of years at United with family issues, personal problems in the background. He just needed a fresh time, a new space, new city. And London, I think, did it for him. I think he was glad for him he got to move. Well-deserved. I think he's a fantastic footballer on his day, and he's showing that at West Ham. And gets 4 goals in 3 games. He's won them a penalty, which Declan Rice took for them, and that was kind of a funny moment that happened there between them. But I'm hoping Jesse can break into this England squad for the Euros. You got a lot of great attacking players in that team, but I think if Jesse can keep it up, like David Moyes says, he could break into this England team. As an English fan yourself and from England and Leeds, do you think he can make this England team, or do you hope he can?
Yeah, I do. I was upset for Jesse Lingard when everything happened for him at Man United and he stopped getting that game time. He was a player I thought would spend his career at United, a bit like Rashford, I think it's going to do. I thought he'd be one of those players. And he just didn't. Something didn't click for him, even with all the stuff's gone on. There was no reason for me to leave, but I think he's left. He's come to West Ham, and I think he's looking good. I think he could be pushing for the England squad, but I think this year, for the first time in a while, there's a lot of English forwards that are going to be knocking on Gareth Southgate's door for this season. Lingard's up there. I think Harry Kane, obviously Rashford. I think there's a couple other players in the top teams, and as a Leeds fan, I'd say Pat Bamford's got no excuse not to be calling on England's door this season, which is something not one Leeds fan had ever expected to say when we were in the Championship, that Pat Bamford would be knocking on England's door. But the bloke is, I think Gareth Southgate's got a lot on his hands for who he wants to pick this year. I think the only thing that's going to make it easier for him is injuries and ages. Like Jamie Vardy, I think theoretically could still be knocking on England's door. Is he? I think he's a little bit old to be playing for England personally myself. Bit injury prone. He's not the kind of player you want to take over there and then have him injured the second you get out there just because he's twisted his ankle coming off the plane knowing Jamie Vardy. But I think there's a lot of players knocking on England's door, and Jesse Lingard is definitely one of them. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, like you said, there's a lot of players in this England squad that are knocking on the door. Like, I mean, just attacking midfielders alone, you got Maddison, Foden, Dele Alli. I mean, he hasn't played much, but I still think he could have a shot if he gets a run of games. James Maddison, Jack Grealish, Phil Foden, Jadon Sancho. And then up top, like you said, Paddy Bamford. Newcastle fans could mention Callum Wilson. I know he's injured, but he's going to come back. he's been on fire. I would take him at United up top. We've been lacking goals number 9 position, and I think he's been doing great coming from Bournemouth. But for West Ham, I know they've been in great form, holding 4th place currently above Liverpool, Everton, Tottenham, Arsenal, even Chelsea. They're ahead of now, which is it's incredible to think for a West Ham team like this. And David Moyes just gotten them ticking. And do you think they can hold this Champions League place, or where do you think they'll finish at the end of the year?
I think I think they can hold it. I think it's still a bit early to call because, like you say, they've still got quite a few strong teams behind them. They've got Chelsea, Everton, Arsenal, Liverpool. But I think if results keep going their way, they've shown that they can beat a top team in Tottenham. I think a few more wins and they can maybe pull away a couple points, get a little bit of a distance for themselves, that little bit of a cushion that they might want. And I think they can definitely be pushing for Champions League this season. But there's still some teams in the bottom half of the table that theoretically could be pushing for Europa. I think Europe this season's it's a weird one. Like you say, Liverpool are in the Europa spots right now. Personally, the way they've been playing lately, they'd be lucky to make Europa by the end of the season for me. A stat came out that they've actually been the worst champions in the following season after winning the title. I think they're 33 points from where they should be, or if they've got 33 points, I can't remember which it is. But they're in a poor position from where they should be as champions from the season before. And yeah, looking at the way they're playing, they'd be lucky to call on Europe. But I do think West Ham have definitely got a shout in there. As much as I hate to say it, another London team in Europe.
Yeah, you could be seeing 2 Manchester teams and a couple London teams in there. Could be an interesting time in Europe. But, I mean, another team that you're probably missing seeing in Europe is Leeds. You guys had a good game. Not really a good game, but you played Wolves. It was kind of a shocker goal. I mean, as a United fan, we always have a tough time against Wolves when they have Raul Jimenez. I know they had a shocker this week. Meslier got kind of unlucky. What do you think about this result and that unlucky goal that Meslier let in?
Yeah, it's always a tricky team to play as Wolves. On the day they can beat any team in that league, but on the day they'll also take a beating. I've got a lot of respect for the team though. They're not one of these teams that you'll play and they'll be rolling around on the floor. They won't be arguing the toss with the ref. And I've got a lot of respect for Nuno as the manager. He's a very top manager, and he never has a bad word to say about anyone from whenever I've seen him. But yeah, Leeds. For me, Wolves didn't deserve to win that game. I think it deserved a draw. Leeds put some hella forces out. We should have been a few goals up. Their keeper had an unbelievable game. And Meslier, for the saves he made, had an unbelievable game at points. It just came from the second time that we played Wolves, and it's happened this season. The second shot goal we've conceded against Wolves. Traore looked hella good on the ball. Shot in and had a shot on off target, hit the post. You shot and it was a hell of a shot. As a Leeds fan, you see that and it hits the post, you scream in joy for a second. For the way it bounced downwards to hit Meslier on the back after the save and roll into the goal is just absolutely heartbreaking. No team deserves to concede like that. And don't get me wrong, if Leeds had scored it, I'd have cheered and had a laugh about it. And no doubt anyone would. But at the same time, no team deserves to concede a goal like that. It's so unfortunate. And then for Leeds to have 2 or 3 chances denied, won by another VAR decision of offside, which must have been absolute inches on Pat Bamford's kneecap by the looks of it. I tell you, it's hard being a Leeds fan lately. Coming from no VAR to tons of VAR, we knew it was going to happen, but we've had no luck. We always have. It's hard. I thought the referee did quite a lot right and then quite a bit wrong. He let a lot play, which was nice to see. But then he got to the point where he wasn't giving enough yellows. Last 10 minutes of the game, all Wolves were doing is sitting in our corner with a ball. Every time we came near, kicking it into our legs and kicking it out for either a corner or a throw-in. Just gaining possession. For me, it's a boring way to play. I'll say it as a neutral in any game. It's a boring way to play. You're 1-0 up. Go for another goal. absolutely go for another goal. And if you're not, at least play a bit of football and do something with it rather than sitting for 10 minutes in a corner. But no, I did think their keeper had a good game. Liam Cooper could have had a hat-trick on. Pascal Strike had 2 or 3 shots in a row where it rebounded off the keeper, and every time he managed to get to it. Helder Costa got another shot. Just couldn't have done much more with it. He did really well. I think Leeds didn't look too bad that game. I just didn't think we capitalised enough. A lot of my fans will probably say that we're still missing Phillips a bit. Don't get me wrong, I do think we are missing his distribution a little bit, but I think we could have still won that game. We beat Aston Villa by an absolute landslide without having Phillips. I don't think he's needed. I do think he's a gap. I don't think he's needed for a win. It's rough. I think we've got Aston Villa next, I believe. Jack Grealish is out, so that's always a relief. I'll be upset not to see someone from the English diving squad on the pitch, but we should still see a good game, and hopefully it's a repeat of the game from the start of the season.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, as a United fan, you're a Leeds fan. We obviously have our disagreements, but I mean, like you said, Paddy Bamford, he's had his unlucky instance here of VAR. I mean, I think some of these are too close. I think you just got to give it to him. Like, VAR is like looking at the slightest thing where you put this line on the field. You're looking at graphs. I
think some of the decisions of it are just so harsh at the minute with VAR. Like, they changed the ruling, so you're offside if any part of your body that you can score with is offside. Pat Bamford was one of the first ones to get one of the big controversial ones near the start of the season. He was running perfectly onside, calling for the ball, points his arm up for where he wants the ball. Nothing wrong with that, pointing to where he wants the ball. His shirt sleeve was in front of the other man, and he got offside. He kicked the ball with his foot. He didn't score it with his sleeve, but because his shirt sleeve was in front of the other man, even though his legs were well enough behind, he was offside. And I think it's harsh. I think it's awfully harsh, because what you're saying there is if Pat Bamford hadn't have pointed where he wanted that ball, hadn't have called for the ball, he wouldn't have been offside. And I think, as a referee myself in the game, I think it's so harsh. Arsene Wenger came out with it the other day. He agreed. His statement is, and what he believes should be a rule change is, you're offside if you are fully in front of the player. He reckoned as long as a part of you is behind the part of the attacker is behind the last defensive man, you should be onside. So that's me saying, if I'm running the line, my foot is behind the body, just a bit of me, then I'm onside. And I'd have to agree with that more than the rules at the minute, because at least then you can get a bit of an overlap on. It creates a little bit more exciting football. And obviously, don't get me wrong, we all know you swap it round, do that role, and there's going to be people saying that he is fully offside, not just partially offside. It's going to happen, but I do think that rule is at least, it allows more goals to be scored. What people want to see in football, and especially in the Premier League, is goals being scored. I say it a little bit more biased as a Leeds fan, because the way we play and the amount we put forward, God knows the amount of times we've been called offside this season, probably. But yeah, you just want to see goals. And while it's like this, you're just not. And Leeds aren't the only team it's happening to. There's plenty and plenty of other teams that have been called stupid offsides, and it's just spoiling the game. I'd even go halfway with the rule that Wenger's said, and I'd say if the bottom half of the body. So yeah, you can score with the top half. If the top half of your body's offside or in front of the last player, then it's not a problem, because I don't see an issue with that. If you score him with your chest after all that, fair credit to you. Fair enough with your legs. Your legs are that little bit of leeway. And I'd say maybe from the waist down, and I know then you get arguments with shorts, but I do think a rule needs to be changed. I think it's too harsh with all this shirt stuff of offside by a sleeve of your shirt. I just think it's too much personally, and I know it'll happen to another team eventually, and they're going to go mental just as a Leeds fan would.
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't like this rule. I hate how they bring those lines in the field. They exactly measure it, but like, you have ARs and assistant refs on the side for a reason. Like, there's no way these guys are going to be able to exactly nail it down with their eyesight. And if you don't, if they're, why are they on the field then? If you're going to nail it down with these lines and graphs, like I've been an AR and a head ref myself, and like there's no chance I'm going to see it. Like I get that these guys are like high end professionals, the best you're going to get, But like, if you're not going to let them do the calling themselves, you're going to narrow it down to this graph, then I don't know why you need like these assistant refs on the side, because they're just going to be there for running up and down the side if they
Yeah,
because then they're just
absolutely.
going to call it like.
No, I think as well. It's when you see some of the camera angles they come at to review it as well. It's not like if you're in line, like I'm going to say it in a rugby perspective because I'm a rugby man myself. We have the VAR, or, the fourth official, the video referee, whatever you want to call it in rugby. They get in line with where the play is most of the time. So if there's anything like that, you can see it perfectly in line from where it happens. So all it'd take is a camera down the side of the pitch on the opposite lens to the linesman, because the linesman only covers half the pitch. Just a camera following either the ball or the last man. Because when you're seeing some of these angles and he's looking at it from like an angle looking down and at the angles, how can you tell if someone's offside like that? You need to be in line with the person. And that's why this is where the linesmen need to be better. I don't think the linesmen are confident enough in today's game. I think they're afraid by being overruled by VAR. They don't make as many decisions. But it's human error. I think a linesman has to be strong. A linesman has to say, yeah, it was, yeah, it wasn't. And I think we need to. I'd rather sometimes go back. And I don't mean scrap VAR, because there is sometimes you see some of the decisions the linesmen make, and it's absolutely appalling. And it does need VAR to completely prove. But I do think it can be done better, or just, like I say, a sliding camera for me. I just don't think the angles sometimes they look at are fair enough to be calling. Again, I'm going to go back to the Leeds when Pat Bamford was offside by a kneecap. The angle they're looking at, you can't tell if he's offside or not. You can't tell who's in front, because they've got these lines and they're both like drawn to the side, but they look exactly the same place when they go up. I don't understand how somebody can be calling these decisions at that kind of angle. It needs to be head on.
Yeah, I mean, everything's been worked out. Like, probably when offside was first implemented, I mean, we all probably didn't like it. I mean, like, we don't like, no one's like VAR exactly. Like, it's going to take some time, a couple years. But, I mean, in the Premier League, we're having our issues. Like, they're looking at it for 4, 5, 6 minutes. And then you look at the Bundesliga in Germany and in Serie A in Italy. They're taking a minute, 2 minutes tops, done decision. They look at it enough and it's over. Like, Premier League needs to get that quick and that decisive, I think, for everyone to enjoy the game again. So we're not just adding on extra time, slowing the game down, killing the speed of game. Because people love football for how fast it's played, how quick it goes, no stopping, no whistle, like no stoppage of the clock. Like, that's why everyone loves the game. And I think, like you said, human error. I think we got to have a bit of error in the game for ARs, assistant refs. I think they need to trust themselves more. Don't let VAR take away their confidence. I think they got to stand up for themselves more, because there's obviously going to be human error. We're all human. There's going to be mistakes. Like, I don't know. I think you can't leave it down to a graph. But I mean, VAR struck again, another big game of the weekend that we're going to talk about right after this break, and it's going to be a big one. And it was an interesting decision. Well, the Merseyside Darby once again was played this weekend at Anfield between Everton, the Toffees, and Liverpool. We saw Everton win and break the Anfield curse since 1999, 2-0 win. There was a controversial penalty late in the game for Dominic Calvert-Lewin, got tripped up by Trent off a spillage from Alisson. Do you think this is a penalty? Because personally, I think it was a penalty as a ref myself, but it can be given either way, I think. But what do you think yourself?
Yeah, so I've seen two perspectives on it personally. First time I watched it, I was like, it's very lucky to be given a penalty. At the end of the day, there's contact, and it's caused Calvert-Lewin to trip. Trent wasn't even looking at Calvert-Lewin. He was completely on the ball, and Trent was on the ground long before. And I don't see any personal, I don't see a goal scoring opportunity there. Looking at another perspective, if Alisson had kept hold of the ball, no penalty. I think because Alisson drops the ball, therefore the ball's still in place, so theoretically Calvert-Lewin still had a chance, penalty. for me, I think every day of the week, if Alisson had kept that ball, for me, no penalty. But because he's dropped the ball, fair enough. There's contact. It's stopped Calvert-Lewin from being able to even have a chance at going for it. Penalty. And I do think Liverpool fans are going to hate it. And I think it is one of the most controversial penalties we probably will see this season.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a rough one. I dread to be the referee in that one, making that decision. I've been on the back of some dodgy decisions as a referee, but that's one of the strongest that I've seen. But yeah, no, I do think it's all down to Alisson there. I think if he'd been able to keep a hold on that ball, I think they'd have been able to have got away with it. But because he's let go of the ball and put it back in play, and that's what's caught, and then Calvert-Lewin's gone over, I do think, yeah, fair enough. Calvert-Lewin could have had a shot on if Trent wasn't there. But I do think, even so, I do think it's a harsh penalty call, but we've seen him given for a lot less with some of the contact that gets given nowadays. You see penalties for a lot less, so it's a rough one. But yeah, no, all credit to Everton. They went out and looked the better team for the most part of that game. I don't think Liverpool looked amazing. I think Anfield lost its fortress status. Every Liverpool fan's going to say that's because of COVID and no fans being there. But look what happened last season. No fans were there since March, and they still never lost at Anfield that season. So there's no excuses for me. I do think it's been harder. It's been harder for every team. As a Leeds United fan, Lane, I know you'll say as a Man United fan, Old Trafford and Ellen Road are a hard place to come for an away team. And it's been different with no away fans being there or home fans being there. But I do think Liverpool is to that exception, but I don't think you can blame it like they have. I still don't think Liverpool came out looking strong enough. They had a few good shots on target, a few good chances, and they missed them. They messed it up. Everton took their chances. Well taken penalty and a very good goal for me. They looked the better side, and thankfully after 22 years, I think it is now that you said, they finally won at Anfield and up the Toffees, up the Blues.
Yeah, it's about time Anfield was blue and Everton won this game. I mean, personally, as a United fan, Leeds fan yourself, you're probably glad to see Everton win this one. I mean, nobody wanted to see Liverpool win unless you're a Liverpool fan, or you want to see them make Europe. But I mean, I'm very glad they didn't win this game. Like, Liverpool didn't switch on right from the get-go. That early goal from Richarlison was a beautiful ball from James Rodriguez, showing his class once again. Richarlison, I think he's a great player. I mean, he can be in a bit of an arrogant side, but I mean, it was a very good strike and a goal to put past Alisson. But like you said in that penalty, I'm going to join you in saying it's a penalty. I mean, yes, it's a dodgy call, but I mean, Trent's not looking at him still. I can see a Liverpool fan's perspective and point there. I'd be mad if I was a United fan myself giving it against me. But I mean, from Everton's fans' point of view and Toffee's point of view, he's obstructing Calvert-Lewin's run, like you said. So it's obviously going to be a penalty in my books because he can't get to that ball. It's a live ball. He can't get there. He's going for it. He obviously sold it quite a bit. But, I mean, it's going to be a penalty because it's obstruction, obviously. Trent doesn't get a touch on it or Calvert-Lewin doesn't fall. It's going to be in the back of the net. And my issue for it, we just ranted about VAR, but, I mean, I got to look at the ref here. He goes to VAR. Yes, he goes to VAR. Good for him. He looks at the screen. He looks at the screen for, 5 seconds. Like, he didn't even give it a second replay. That's where I question him here. I think he should have given it longer, looked at it a couple times, because he didn't have a long enough time to be like, okay, did I make the right decision here? I think he had to actually analyze the decision. But I mean, we talked about VAR enough. I don't want to get on that bandwagon again. But I mean, like you said, I think Everton deserve the utmost respect here. Yes, Liverpool, all this stuff about how they're missing all these injuries and blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, they still have a great team. They can't score for anything here. If Salah – I mean, I'm not a Salah fan at all. He dives, in my opinion, almost every game. He's overrated, in my opinion. But lately, he's still scoring, which is great for him. I'm still amazed with how good he's doing this season and how bad they're doing. But, it seems like if Salah doesn't score, Liverpool doesn't win. Or if Salah doesn't score, if they don't get a result. Sadio Mane is falling off a cliff. I haven't heard anything about him this season. Firmino, he's just doing what he does. I mean, he's just providing assists. He does look good in some games, good for him. But like the best chance for them came like the 93rd minute from a Wijnaldum long shot, and Pickford made it look picturesque to me. But there was a couple nice shots, but Pickford did play very well, which we don't really hear that much. It was great to see him back in net trying to get some form, but like, yeah, Pickford usually has a merit, but I don't know if this Carlo Ancelotti and Duncan Ferguson side of Everton here have really pulled off a great victory. And like, I mean, it's going to be remembered in the history books for a long time. I mean, we've witnessed history here. I mean, I was amazed to see them win. I'm glad they won. Do you think Everton's going to finish higher than Liverpool? I mean, you got that Merseyside rivalry. Who's going to take that Europa League or Champions League spot even with West Ham just above them? Do you think Everton's going to be higher than Liverpool?
I'd love to see it be Everton. I would love to see it be Everton this season. When you're picking on that side of the Mersey, I've always picked Everton. I appreciate Liverpool as a club, and I like some of the stuff they can do. But yeah, no, I do think I'd like to see Everton make Europa, and like I said, I'd love to see just for the absolute hilariousness of it, is Liverpool not even make a Europe spot this year after everything. I think it'd just be the cherry on the cake for COVID football. But like you say, Liverpool, I think Salah's still a top scorer in the league this season. There is no reason why they shouldn't. I've said to you before, Lane, and we both said Mane on his day is better. He's just not as consistent as Salah. And I still stand by that. I do think Mane is a better footballer than Salah, but he's just not nearly as consistent. Firmino's still been feeding them both the balls, but they're just not converting them. But yeah, no, Richarlison looked absolutely on his game yesterday. That first goal was, I thought, quite a very good shot to get it past Alisson at that sort of range. And I think they were just outplayed. I think there's no other excuse for it. I think Everton are looking the better team at the minute. They're on a bit of form now. I do think that Europa spots have been grasped for them, and I hope they can keep Liverpool far away from it.
Yeah, I mean, every Liverpool loss is certainly going to hurt them. I mean, now Everton have scored more goals at Anfield than Liverpool have this season in that win. Like, Liverpool have only scored one goal at home in 4 games in 2021. It's embarrassing. That's their 4th loss at home when they went 3 years unbeaten at home. Yeah, I don't know. It's Klopp's really running out of ideas, I think, in my opinion. Like, he's lost Henderson again in this game. That's a crucial injury for me. I think he should have still been playing midfield, give some creativity and whatnot, but leadership, and you're losing a big player in Hendo, but I don't know. I don't rate Henderson, but I think he's still another big blow for Klopp. And Kabak and Phillips, in my opinion, are shocking. Kabak with that first goal was embarrassing in my opinion. I think he's got to be stronger there. Got to stay awake and follow that run, but I don't know. I think they've got to invest better in center backs because I don't know. You're trying to replace for Van Dijk and you're picking up a guy from Preston and Chalk like we talked about last week. But I mean, it's a poor defense they got back there. Your best defender is Robertson right now, and he's known for his attacking ability. It's shocking what they have going on over there. But a team that actually picked up a win is in top 4, Manchester United, my club. 3-1 victory over Newcastle. Fernandes get another assist like he always seems to do, adding on to his tally. Rashford absolutely skinning Emil Kraft, and Daniel James picking up a goal for once. And your Leeds player you probably wish you had. What do you think about this United win? And I know you're probably not too happy they won, but what do you think?
No, credit to Man United. It was a good game. They played well. They outplayed Newcastle. I do think Newcastle had a fair few shots on target and could have had a bit more. De Gea kept you out. He's got back on a bit of form now. I think St. Maximin's strike was a hell of a strike. Good goal for Newcastle. Just too late. But I thought all the goals from Man United were very good. Really good shot from Rashford to keep it just on the bottom post, just away from the keeper. I thought Dan James got a hell of a goal. Like you say, he's a player I wish Leeds had managed to just have got. For anyone that doesn't know that story, anyone watching that doesn't know that story, he got all the way to being photographed with a Leeds United shirt on in the closing minutes of deadline day. And Swansea wouldn't pick up the phone to confirm the deal in 12:15 a.m. in the morning on deadline day. But no, it was a rough one. I still reckon Man United had a couple of years in Swansea saying keep him, we'll give you more money. But we never know. But yeah, no, I think I know quite a few Man United fans that are never happy with him, and then he does something like that, and you absolutely worship the player. And I think he just takes a bit of settling into a game. But I think when he comes out, when he's on his day, like he was at the weekend, I think he's a very good player, and he shows that. I think he's just got to have that bit of time to settle, and I think he's still young. This is what we forget. He's only in his early 20s. He's Dan James. He's got a lot of time, and we know the quality that can come out of the Welsh national team. We've had Gareth Bale in the past. Tyler Roberts is an up-and-coming quality, and obviously Dan James he's going to get there. And I do think Man United came a little bit too soon, for in personal opinion. I do think. I'm biased as a Leeds fan, but I do think one last season as a championship winning side with Leeds, and then another season settling into the Premier League and then going to a team like Man United would have been better for him. I think he's been sort of chucked in the deep end. He's had championship football and then jumped straight into a team like Man United and expecting. And you probably hold your hands up as well, Lane, and say a lot of your fans have expected a lot from him. And they've got to remember, Man United is his first taste at Premier League, and I know he's been there a season a bit now, but you can't expect loads of him. Just as the same as we wouldn't expect Messi to come straight over and be the best player in the Premier League. You've got to give him time to settle into a new league. But I do think he's been good. And when he's on his game, he's on his game. I think that shot from him was incredible the other day. And yeah, fair play to Man United. Good win for you guys.
Yeah, like you said, I think Dan James is still young. Like you said, a lot of our supporters still believe that he's like they gave him way too high of expectations. Like he's coming from the championship in Swansea. I gave him even too high of expectation. I got to admit myself. Like he's a good player in my opinion. I think he just needs more time. Even a loan spell, I think, would be very good for him, getting to your side or something. But I think Dan James is good he's good when you're playing a bigger team that's going to press you and push forward like Newcastle did this weekend. They got adventurous, they pushed us, and then Dan James uses speed, got in behind. That's his specialty. Like if we play like a City, Liverpool, I think that's a perfect game for him. Send long balls over top to Dan James to chase onto. He's great at pressing. He did well midweek against Sociedad, picked up a goal there too. So that's 2 goals in 1 week for him. Great to see him get some confidence. He needs it after a long first season and some time on the bench behind Greenwood. But like you said, he's still young. He still has time. I think always should keep trusting him, let him play it out a bit. He's difficult against those technical teams where you got to try and break down a low block because I don't think he has the technical passing game like Fernandez or Mata does. But I think he does have that speed that can break down an expansive team and play it in behind them, and he can really beat a team like that. But like you said, it was a great 3 points to this United team. It was much needed after a lot of inconsistency and a couple draws and that shocking draw against West Brom, and they needed to keep the momentum going after Real Sociedad. But I don't know, it was a 3-1 win, but Newcastle dominated for like 60 minutes or so. Like with a midfield like Fred Matic, you can't break down that press. And it was hard to get the ball to Bruno and players like Rashford and Martial. And I mean, Rashford had to do it on his own there in that goal. Like that was an incredible goal, taking it down, skinning Middle Smith Rowe, putting it through his legs, doing it again with that step over. And Carl Darlow stood no chance for me there, putting it near post. But I mean, you got to look at this Newcastle team without Callum Wilson too. Like St. Maximin's doing his best in his own, but Steve Bruce, he's got to be questioned. I mean, I'm not a big fan of him. He's great at United, but manager, he's got to be questioned. I think, personally, I can see him going down here. Fulham's really picking up a lot of form, and Fulham does play Newcastle last game of the season too. Do you think Newcastle's going to see relegation here and go back to the Championship?
Personally, I hope not. I do like Newcastle as a club. They've got a really good fan base. They've got a lot of history in the league as well. They've taken a hit before and been relegated, but I do think they're a Premiership team. They're not a Championship team. And no doubt Sunderland said that. They went down, did a documentary about coming back up and went down again. And I've no doubt Sunderland said the same, but I do think Newcastle are a through and through Premier League team. I think they're one of them teams that they've got a long way to go before they even think about challenging for the league. But I don't think they're too good for the Premiership, especially with the team they've got now. They'd walk the Championship. Sorry, they're too good for the Championship, especially with the team they've got now. They'd walk the Championship. But I do think they've got to look at what they've got going for them. I do think they need to sort something out to sort of gain that more, be a little bit more comfortable in the league. I do think where the relegation zone is at the minute is going to be the relegation zone for the season. I do think personally Sheffield United, West Brom and Fulham will be the teams getting relegated. I think Sheffield United might be the only one that managed to escape it, if anything, but I don't even think they will. I think Chris Wilder got too big for his boots last season. They had a few good loan signings that they've lost that they couldn't keep. One being Henderson that's come back to Man United, so I bet you're a bit pleased about that one. But no, I do think Sheffield United are good enough. I thought West Brom had a good season last season in the Championship with Slaven Bilic. I don't think Slaven Bilic was given enough time coming up. It's going to ruin Sam Allardyce's perfect record, I believe. But I don't think they were good enough last season. They didn't show anything that showed sustainability for the Premiership, and I didn't also think Fulham was good enough. They won the playoff final, and I thought Brentford were a better team throughout the season. I thought Fulham, I hands down, I did hope Brentford would lose the playoff final, just because we lost Pontus Jansson to them during the summer transfer window before, and I didn't want him to get promoted after leaving us, which thankfully happened. But no, Fulham aren't good enough for the Premiership. I don't think Scott Parker's doing a bad job with what he's got, really. But I don't think they're good enough, and I don't think West Brom are good enough to sort of stand. And like I said, I think Sheffield United had one sort of lucky season last season, but I think that's as far as it'll go. I do think that's set in stone. I do think Newcastle will stay, and they're just going to put their ideas up, and they need to. There's a few areas that they're going to need to make signings in. I think they're fairly good up front. They've got a few good up front prospects in Joe Linton and St. Maxime. I just think defensively, I don't personally think they're strong enough. Central defensively, I don't personally think they're strong enough. They've got a few positions they need to fill. And I do think when they fill that, they'll be a more comfortable team in the league, a team more like... I think they're on par with like your Burnley. Yeah, West Ham on a usual season. I won't compare them to West Ham this season where they're at. But like your Wolverhampton, Crystal Palace, they're the sort of teams that just linger in the Premier League. You know, they're never really, apart from West Ham this season, you know they're always there, but they're never really looking at relegating. They're never looking at winning the league, and they might be pushing for Europa at most. That's where Newcastle are, and I think that's where they'll stay for a good few years yet. But I don't think Steve Bruce is the manager to take him anywhere. I think he's doing an all right job at what he's doing now. I don't think he's doing as good as he could be. I don't think he's doing the worst with the team he's got. But I do think they need a better manager. They need a good bit of money pumping into the club, and some nice fresh signings being made from.
Yeah, I mean, one part we differ here is I think Newcastle are sadly going to go down. I mean, I'm a fan of Newcastle. I mean, I like them. Everyone's seen the Goal movies around the world. It's a great film. I mean, Callum Wilson even mentioned it in his first interview. But, I mean, without Callum Wilson here, I don't think Newcastle can stay up. I don't think they got the goal-scoring power for Steve Bruce. He's been relying on Callum Wilson quite a bit and his corners and set pieces. But I think without Callum Wilson, they don't have those goals up top. And Joel Linton got injured against United here. And St. Maximin, I think he's too young to carry them all this way. I think they're really needing Callum Wilson to lead the charge. He's used to that relegation battle. Without Callum, I think it's going to be tough. I think Fulham's really building a lot of momentum right now. They're picking up some wins on the trot. They're only a win behind Newcastle now. I think Scott Parker's getting a lot of chemistry behind this squad. I think he's picking it up at the right time for this team. It's a great run they're getting on. I mean, he's doing the best Scott Parker can with this squad, like you said. He doesn't have like the real tools at his abilities. I mean, a lot of players are weak, in my opinion. I think probably his best player is Ruben Loftus-Cheek, and he's going to lose him next season at Chelsea unless he can manage to somehow sign him. But I think he's going back to go play with Thomas Tuchel. But like you said, I think this Newcastle team needs a new manager and get rid of Steve Bruce. He's never really cut it in the Premier League. And then I think you need more money, but I don't think Mike Ashley's ever going to spend it. You could talk to Newcastle fans. I mean, they've always had a strong opinion about Mike Ashley, which, I mean, a lot of us have had because we want Newcastle back where they should be, just like Sunderland. They should be back where they should be, and they've actually got their new owner now. But, yeah, from talking about championship teams, we're going to talk about a possible champion right away, right after this. Well, probably the most talked about game of the weekend, the Gunners Arsenal versus Manchester City. We saw 1-0 win for Man City. They're finally just winning 1-0 this year and not giving up many goals, which they're used to last year. We saw Riyad Mahrez put in a beautiful ball and Sterling headed it in. Probably the most unlikely guy to score a header. We saw Rob Holding. Ball watching, I think they should have defended that much better, but I question Holding's defensive abilities once in a while. But I think it's a great performance from City. I don't think they got out of third gear. I think I think they're running away with it. And do you think they're going to win the title? And what do you think of Arsenal's performance?
Yeah, I do think City have, for me, they've won it. I think after that Liverpool game, beating Liverpool at Anfield, I think that was it. That was it for me. I think that was the final straw. I don't think anything's going to stop City now. I'm not going to say they're not going to lose, because I don't think they're unbeatable. But like you said, they didn't seem to come out of third gear. They were at a comfortable pace the whole game. It was a comfortable 1-0 win for them. They never looked like they were going to concede at any particular point. I do think the header from Sterling was an incredible header and not one that anyone expected. The leap on him was unbelievable. But yeah, I do think City have run away with this title now. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't win. If they don't lose again now this season. But I do think some team's going to come out. Could be a team that we don't expect. But I do think they will take another loss this season. But I do think they'll come back from it and they won't lose again after that. It's City's title for the taking, for the losing now, because it's definitely Liverpool aren't doing a double. We know that much. The only other team that I can see sort of testing City for it are Leicester. And Leicester, we talked about in the last show. Leicester have been one of these teams that they've had more injuries and they don't get talked about. Liverpool have had the same, if not less, injuries than Leicester have had, and you don't hear any moaning from Leicester fans. They just get on with it. But I do think injuries is the one thing that's going to hold Leicester back from challenging. I don't think they will beat City to the title, but I think they're the only team that have a chance at it. I think next season they've got a very strong chance at it if they want to come out and fight for it from the start and gain a bit of consistency and go forward with it. But I think at the minute, City's game. I didn't think Arsenal played too poorly, though. I won't lie to you, I don't think Arsenal played too poorly. I think Arteta's got comfortable in the squad now. He knows what he wants to do. He's doing it. You can't. I wouldn't fire Arteta after a game against Man City. And to be fair to him, to only concede one goal to Manchester City is fair play. But no, it wasn't bad.
Yeah, for sure. Like you're talking about Leicester's injuries. Now this weekend they had James Maddison go down injured. I don't know, like you said, Leicester fans just go on with it and they don't really complain and they don't talk about it much. And I think Leicester should be talked about more in this title race. I think as a United fan, I think we'll challenge, and I think Leicester's going to be right there with us. But I don't think it's going to be much of a challenge. You see Gundogan putting the goals. Aguero's back on the bench, which is scary, of course, and De Bruyne's coming back. Once they both hit forms, I think it's going to be impossible to catch up to them. But, I want to end it by talking about Sunderland, and they actually have a new owner. And, everyone's probably seen the Sunderland Till I Die series and a very popular series on Netflix. And now they've actually turned it around and gotten a new owner, Kyrell Louis Dreyfus, 23-year-old owner who's actually worth £4 billion, which is unbelievable at that age. I'm not sure exactly how he worked to get that. But, I'd love to see Sunderland back in the league, in the Premier League, back where they deserve to be. I'm hoping this guy can bring them back up. What do you think? Would you like to see Sunderland back where they should be? And do you think he can hopefully pump some money into the club?
Yeah, no, I'd love to see Sunderland back in the Premier League. I don't think they deserve to get relegated back down to League One. I think they should have still been in the Championship the season. God knows what happened. Like you said, they did the documentary and went back about coming back up and then went straight back down again. But I think I tell you, as long as this owner pumps in the money, I think they'll be looking for it. Don't get me wrong, I don't know where he's got that money from at 23 years old, and I'd love to be worth £4 billion by the end of 2 years' time, but I don't think it'll happen. But no, I think Sunderland are on a good crack of form. It's actually my friend's cousin, Charlie White, banging in the goals for him, one of the top goal scorers in the league. Unbelievable form he's on at the minute. and I do think he can help carry him. I think they've still got a way to go yet, but I think if a good bit of income, and I think 3 or 4 years' time they'll be at least looking. If not, I think 4 years is the maximum they should be taking now to get back in. I think 2 or 3 years' time, and they should be at least in the playoffs in the Championship. If they don't get promoted this season, it's got to be next season. And then I think either 1 or 2 years to get comfortable in the Championship before rising back up to the Premier League. And I wouldn't want to see him come straight up and then straight up again. I mean, don't get me wrong, it'd be very unlikely to happen. But I wouldn't want to see it happen. I'd want to see him get to the point where they're comfortable to be in the Premier League. They're not just going to come up and go straight back down again. They need to get themselves to a point in the Championship where they know they're going to be able to come up to the Premier League. Like, again, I'm going to be biased as a Leeds fan. We've set ourselves a target of where we want to be. We know we're coming up into the Premier League, and we're not here to just scrape at survival. We're here to challenge a little bit. We're here to be comfortable in the league and stay here for a long time. And I think that's what Sunderland need. They don't want to be coming up like Fulham and West Brom have last season and know they're going to be coming up and struggling. They don't want that. They want to be coming up and they want to be comfortable in where they are. They want to know that they're going to be settled in the Premier League for time to come.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I completely agree. I think we all need to see Sunderland back in the Premier League. We need to see that Sunderland-Newcastle rivalry again. I mean, it'd be great to see that again. I hope he can fund them and get them back up where they should be. Who knows? Maybe we'll see another documentary. It would be quite entertaining, I think, to see another one in League One. I mean, because who wouldn't want to see that kind of dirty football? But I mean, we're gonna wrap it up here for another great episode of Off the Pitch. I mean, I had a lot of fun. I'm sure Daniel did too. We're glad to have you guys here, and it was a great episode, and I'm glad to see you, and can't wait to see you again next week for another great episode and some more Premier League action and some Champions League coming up again next week. See you next week, everyone.